In this video, you're going to learn how to create simple two-dimensional geometry as well as use simple 2D toolpaths. So let's get started. First thing I want to do is close the operations manager. Won't be needing that for a while. Now the first thing we want to do is start with the outside rectangle. So go up here to drawing toolbar, grab the rectangle, and just click in the center, and that little icon should pop up, and just draw an arbitrary size outwards. Now we don't want to draw just a rectangle in the first quadrant, we want to draw it from the center out. So go up here and click this button, anchor to center, and then we'll put in our dimensions. So this is going to be 3.5 by 3. That looks to be the size I want it, so I'm going to apply that. Now we're going to draw another rectangle. Draw that out. And it looks like this is going to be 3.5 minus, open parentheses, 0.375 times 2, close parentheses. I'm going to hit enter there. And then this dimension looks like 3.0 minus, open parentheses, 0.375 times 2, close parentheses. And I'll hit enter again. That looks good to me. And I'll hit apply. So there we go. We have two rectangles. So now what I'm going to do is add the fillets. So go up here to your drawing toolbar again and go to fillet entities. Now these fillets look like they have a radius of 0.317. And to fillet stuff, you just click one entity and then click the other one. So click here, click there, 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 and there. And I'm done with that, so I'm going to hit the check. Alright, so there's my fillets. Now we have to draw the pocket, the inside pocket here. So to do that, I'm going to actually find the center points of that using parallel lines. So up here in your drawing toolbar, drop this down and do create line parallel. So this gives you the option of a distance that's offset from a line and which direction it's going. So you can flip it to come out the other side or both sides from the line. So the first point we're going to locate is down here, and we're going to do a distance of 0.875. So there. And then I'm going to apply that. And then I can click here and click arbitrary up, and we'll make this one 1.0. I'm going to hit apply. So there's my first center point that I'm going to use. So now this next one, I'm going to do an offset again. Grab this line, drag it out, and this one is 0.875 plus 0.3125. There we go, that looks good. I'm going to apply that. And then we got one from the top down that's also an inch. I'm going to apply that and hit the check because I'm done with lines. So here's our two center points, right here and right there. So I'm going to go up here and grab the point tool, big green plus, and I'll put one here, and I'll put one there. Now you can't see them because they're underneath these lines, so I'm going to delete those. I'm just going to click the lines and hit delete. Zoom in and out, and there's our points. So now the next set of points is over here, and it's the same pattern, same distance. We're just going to use these points and move them over by this distance, and basically just copy them. So to do that, we're going to go up here and use these xform commands, and we're going to do xform translate. So the first thing it's going to ask you is select the entities. So I'm going to grab this point and that point, and then in the selection. And we can move these in X, Y, Z, any distance we want. We want to copy them, not move them. So we want to move these in the X direction. by 1.375. So there's where we want the points. So I'm just going to hit apply, and there we go. So we got our points. So notice now that these ones are red, and these ones are purple. So the ones that turned red are the original selection of whatever was modified, and then the purple is the result. So I don't really need those colors right now. I'm just going to clear the colors. Now everything's green again. So what I'm going to do now is grab my line tool and just draw lines around these. So we're going to use this shape and offset it to create the actual pocket. So now we're going to use another Xform command. We're going to do Xform offset contour. And that's when this chaining dialog box pops up. So it's important to understand what a chain is. So a chain can be two things. It can be an open chain or a closed chain. So an open chain is lines or arcs that are connected end to end to end that do not create a closed loop. A closed chain is lines or arcs that are connected end to end to end that create a loop. So for example, this would be a closed chain, this whole square. These lines and fillets would be a closed chain, and this would also be a closed chain. So we're just going to make sure it's on the normal chain selection here, and just click this in any direction, doesn't matter, just click any of these lines anywhere, and you should end up with one green arrow. One green arrow means you got a whole chain, and this is the start point and the end point of the chain right there, so it's a whole loop. That's all we want, so I'm going to hit the check. Now you may or may not get this warning, and basically what this is saying is you either can't offset that direction or the offset's too far. So I'm going to hit OK. So how far do we want to offset this? Looks like 0.25. So we can see that's going the wrong way. So what I'm going to do is hit this flip arrow, and there we go. So you may or may not have had to do that. It might have just you clicked it the right direction automatically, but if you didn't, you can flip it, go both directions, but we want that one. So that looks good, that's what I want. I'm going to hit apply, and I'll just close the chain box. So there we go. So now we have the original selection in red and the result in purple. So I don't want this original selection anymore, so I'm going to go down here to my quick mask toolbar and look for QM group. It's the little lightning bolt with the red and the gray square. So I'm going to hit that QM group. Now notice the red ones turned yellow, which means they're selected. So I want to delete those, so I'm just going to hit delete, and they're gone. So that was an easy way to grab those. Now I could have also just held down shift and clicked it, because that'll also grab the whole loop chain. Like this purple one, for example. I'm going to hold down shift and click. It's yellow. But I don't want to do anything with that, so I'm just going to hit escape, right click, clear the colors, and there we go. So it looks like the only thing I'm missing right now are the holes. So I have to do a hole here and a hole here. And the center points of the fillet actually located the holes for us, so that's nice. So what I'm going to do is go up here to the Create Circle Center Point tool, drop that down, and just grab that one. And I'm going to click here, draw an arbitrary circle, and I'll actually type in the diameter here, which is 0.25, enter, there it is. So I want to make another circle that's a 1/4 inch, right? I'm going to lock this down. So if I click the diameter button or the radius button, doesn't matter, it turns red. Red means that value is locked, and I can make as many of those circles as I want. So I'm done with this one. I'm going to hit apply. Now I'm going to draw another one right there. So I didn't have to change anything. Just for an example, if I want to make a bunch of these, there's a bunch of circles that are all 1/4 inch. But I don't want those. So I'm just going to hit the check, grab a window, and delete them. So there we go. It looks like our geometry is created, and now we're good to go ahead and make our toolpaths. So the first thing we want to do is choose our machine type. So to do that, go create a machine type. And what are we running this on? This is going to be done on a mill. And you could use the default machine. You could use one of these machines that are loaded in here. If you don't have any loaded in here, you can go to Manage List, pick from the machines you have, and add it over there if you want. So this is the only one I've got added for the Haas. So I'm going to hit OK because I'm not doing anything here. So grab machine type mill. I'm going to grab this one. This is the generic Haas 4x mill.mmd. Now if I open up my operations manager using Alt-O, I now have machine group 1, and it's the generic Haas 4x 4-axis VMC. So I'm just going to snap this over to here. There we go. So the very first thing you want to do is go through a couple settings, tool settings, stock settings. So let's click over here, open up properties, and go to tool settings. So there's a few things you might want to change in here. We're going to leave all of this the same for now. The only thing we're going to do is underneath advanced options, click all of these boxes. That'll just save you some time. Now you can hit the check and go into stock settings, or it's just a tab over. Now you got to decide what kind of stock you're going to do. Rectangular, cylindrical. Looks like rectangular would be our best bet here. So I'm going to grab that. Now we could type in our stock size because we know it here. Or since we have simple geometry here, we can just do bounding box. Hit the check, and it grabbed our sizes for us. So 3.0 in the Y, 3.5 in the X, and we got to add our Z manually because we didn't draw any Z distance. So that's going to be 1.5. And you want to make sure that this is checked display, fit screen, and wireframe. So I'm going to hit the check. And if I go to isometric mode, right click, isometric, there is my stock. And if you want to rotate your part around in 3D space, you can hold down the Alt key and click your middle mouse button if you change it to pan. So there we go. Alright, so we're good to go ahead and make some toolpaths now. So I'm going to right click, go to top view so we can see what we're working on. So probably the first thing I want to do is face this part off. So I'm going to go up here to toolpaths, and you can see you got a lot to choose from, but we're going to go over these simple ones up here today, and all I want to do is grab face. It's going to ask you for a default name, hit OK. Alright, so now we need to chain this outside box here to get the facing to work. So a facing command only works with a closed chain. So we're going to do just normal chain, click anywhere on this box. You should get a one solid green arrow here, and hit the check. Chain geometry is 1, and if you click this arrow here, select change, you can actually see what you just chained. And say if you chain the wrong thing, you can just go right click on this white box over here, rechain all. I could click that again, and we're good. So when you get to this page, all you gotta do is run through this kind of in order, work your way down. So the next thing we want to choose is the tool. So what kind of tool do we want to use? Well, let's go to the library and see what we got. Select library tool. It might give you a recommendation, but we don't want that. We want to find a tool. So I'm going to go to filter, do none, and you can click what you want here. This takes a little bit getting used to because they're kind of hard to see what they are. But if you want to know what it is, just hover. So that's an end mill, that's a sphere mill, that's a bowl mill. We want end mills, and I want them to be greater than 0.5. So here's all the end mills greater than 0.5. I'm going to go with 7/8. So there we go. So I've got 7/8 flat end mill. Now currently in the machine, that's tool 3, so I'm just going to change that now, tool 3. And you can manually input a surface foot per minute and a feed per tooth, or have those calculated. For now, let's just manually enter them. So this is aluminum, so I'm going to do 750 for my surface foot per minute, which calculates my spindle speed. And my feed per tooth, I'm going to do 2 thousandths. So there's my feed rate. Plunge rate, we can make that 10, and I want rapid rechecked. Now another thing you want to do on this page is put a comment, just so you know where you are in the code. So I'm going to write face the part. Alright, now the next thing, holder, we're just going to skip that for now. Go to cut parameters. And the style of cut, you can choose that here, and all of your things like step over and step down and all that. So the first thing we want to do, let's do this in a zigzag. A cross overlap, let's make that 75. We'll make this 120. Can leave that at 50%, leave that at 50. And the step over, we'll make it 66. So 2/3 of the tool. We can change a few things here, but we're going to change move between cuts. And we're going to do high speed loops. And the feed rate between the cuts will be 200 inches per minute. Stock to leave on floors is 0. Depth cuts, we don't want any, so I'm going to turn that off. And linking parameters, this is what you really got to pay attention to here, because this was going to choose where your tool goes in the Z-plane. So I'm going to turn the clearance plane on. 2 inches is fine, and I'm going to use that only at the start and end of the operation. Make all these absolute for now. Those all look good. And I'm going to leave my depth at 0. So what that means is the tool is going to go down to your PRZ 0. So if I probed out my part and actually used the top surface of the part, the tool would not touch. I mean, it would just barely skim it. So when you probe your part, if you set this to 0, just go in your Z offsets and set that 25, 50 thousandths lower, and it'll face the part to 0. So that's a handy little trick. So I'm just going to set apply, hit the check, and there's my tool path. So I'm going to start here, and it's going to work its way along, and it'll end up there. So if I go to isometric, here's my rapid in, here's my rapid out. So if you want to see this run, first thing you want to do is backplot it. And over here in your operations manager, that's the little squiggly blue lines. And here's your backplot options. You're just going to hit the play button right here. And there's the tool making its pass. If you drop this down, you can get some info, such as how long it's going to take, 1 minute, the rapid time, where it's going, feed rate, all that. So I'm going to hit OK. I'm done with this. Now if you actually want to see it cut the part, you have to verify it. So that's right next to backplot. Go to verify. And new for Mastercam 7, this pops up in its own separate window. So as you can see, this is a separate window here. And just hit play. There it is. It faced the part. But like I said, it's at 0, so it's not actually going to cut the part. You're going to have to set that manually on the machine. So I'm just going to minimize this. Go to top view. And let's work on our next toolpath. So this blue toolpath is kind of in my way, so I'm going to get rid of it by just hitting Alt-T. And there, it's gone. If you want to bring it back, just hit Alt-T again. And there it's back. Alright, so the next thing I want to do is probably mill this contour around the edge. That's only 100 thousandths deep, so I can do that in one pass. So let's go to toolpaths, and we're going to do contour. Now a contour can be two things. It could be an open chain or a closed chain. So in this case, it's going to be a closed chain. This guy right here is what we want the tool to machine. So when you're contouring something, you got to remember what direction you're going. Am I climb milling? Am I conventional milling? So in this case, I definitely want to climb mill. So I'm going to want to go this direction around the part, which would be clockwise. So select the line at the beginning of it if you were going clockwise. So that's the beginning there. That would be the beginning. That would be the beginning. So I'm just going to select it here. And where you select it, that's where your tool is going to come in and out of. So if I want my tool to start and end here, I click it there. If I want my tool to start and end over here, I would click it over here. So that's fine. If your arrow is going the wrong way, you can always flip it right here. But I want it going clockwise. So I'm going to hit the check. Alright, so there's my chain. It's going that direction. Now for this, I'm going to do the same tool. So I'm just going to click that. Spindle speed, 750. Feet per tooth, 2,000ths. Plunge rate, 10. Rapid retract. And we'll put the comment on here. Contour the part. Alright, so that looks good. We'll go down to cut parameters. And our tool is to the left of the chain. It's a 2D contour, tip comp, so all this looks good. Stock leave on wall 0, stock leave on floor 0. I'm not going to change anything here. Depth cuts, we don't need those. I'm going to leave those off. Lead in, lead out, I do want. So I want this to be perpendicular or tangent. I'm going to leave it at tangent. Length, let's make it 50%. Radius, we'll make it 75. And we'll put a 0.125 helix height on there. And that's just for the entry. So if I want to make the exit the same, just click these little double arrows here. Now all those numbers bounced over. The overlap, let's put an overlap of 50 thousandths. Alright, that looks good. Breakthrough, we're not breaking through the part, but we are doing multi-passes because we want a roughing pass and a finish pass. So we'll turn this on. So roughing passes, 1. Spacing, we'll do 100% of the tool, which is 7/8. And the finish pass, we want one of those, and we want to take off 10 thousandths. So there we go. That looks good. And now linking parameters. So I'm going to leave all these as they were, except for I'm going to check that box. And the depth is going to be absolute, and it's going to be negative 0.125. I'm going to hit apply, hit the check, and there is my toolpath. So as you can see, it entered and exited from this chain because that's where I picked the start point. So if I hit Alt-T, there they are, and you can see here I've got two toolpaths that are pretty close. If I just draw an arbitrary line here, it looks like about 10 thousandths, so that's good. Alright, so Alt-T again. Now let's do the pocket. Go to toolpaths and go down to pocket. So a pocket can be an enclosed area, an open chain, or a closed chain. In this case, we're just going to grab a normal closed chain. And it doesn't matter where you grab it or the direction. So there's my chain. So let's choose the tool. Go to Select Library Tool, go to Filter, and we're looking for a flat end mill equal to 1/4 inch. There it is. Grab it, and there's my tool. So this is tool 8. Change all those. Spindle speed 6,000. Feed rate 15. Now you can see your service foot per minute and your feed per tooth calculated for you. Plunge rate, we'll make that 10. And we'll do rapid retract. I'm going to put a comment down here. And now we're going to go to cut parameters. So we want to climb mill this pocket. We want to do a standard pocket. We don't want to leave any stock on the walls. That's all we want to change here. Now go to roughing. Now we can just kind of choose one of these and see where it goes. So let's try zigzag. And we'll do a step over of 20%. And with our entry motion, we'll do a ramp. We'll leave all this the same. We'll move on to finishing. We're going to do one finish pass with a spacing of 10 thousandths. And the lead in, lead out, entry and exit will be the same. we'll do 50% for the line, 75 for the arc, and we'll do a helix height of 0.25. We want overlap of 50 thousandths. We don't want any depth cuts. We don't want to break through the part. So now we're just on the linking parameters. I'm going to leave all of this the same. Check the box. Absolute depth, negative 0.25. And hit apply and the check. So I'm going to hit Alt-T, and there's my pocket. So I'm going to go to isometric mode. So there's the ramp in the part, and it's going to machine the pocket. So now I just want to verify the pocket. So you see how it's checked over here? It's the only one checked. When I hit verify, it's only going to verify the operation I had checked. So I'm going to slow it down a little bit. So it ramps in. And then mills out the pocket from there. So there it is, and it finishes it.